Hi, this is Saili और आप सुन रहे हैं झूम बराबर झूम here only on Radio Azad, voice of the people. I had the opportunity to speak with the director of Takim, Emre Sahin. He was a fantastic guy, just seemed really cool, and the movie is wonderful. It is being screened at the Dallas International Film Festival this weekend, Sunday at 2:30 p.m. at the Angelica Film Center, and Monday, April 18th at 1:30 p.m. So, ज़रूर जाके देखिएगा. And without further ado, here is our conversation.
So to begin, let me tell you, I saw your film and I absolutely loved it. It's so well made, and the story is just so universal, and anybody can relate to the feelings that it evokes. Is this something that you were aiming for?
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's one of those things where, as I was looking for a subject for my next film, and I definitely wanted it to be something in Turkey again, in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to draw from the real world, and I have a big non-scripted background as well. So I like stories that are set in the real world, and and deal with real topics. They don't always have to be very heavy or depressing things. But so when I was looking for that, one big thing that's happening in Istanbul right now, and then actually of course all over the world, but in Istanbul especially, is there's this big kind of change of the city. The city is changing in a lot of ways, in unnatural ways, where huge parts of the city is being forcibly, legal and illegally forced out of land that has now become valuable, and instead they're building these giant new skyscrapers and malls and all this stuff, and they're doing it under the guise of, it's just we're advancing. It's just time's coming by and advancing. But there's something so unnatural about the way these developments are popping up. And in the last 10 years, when you look at Istanbul, it's changed so dramatically and so unnaturally that you just feel like that can't be the correct way to do this. And of course, I'm not one saying the city shouldn't change or life shouldn't change. Of course it does, but there has to be some sort of natural progression to this. So and that's a major big topic going on. And you hear all these stories of people, and like I said, especially poor people or minorities or people kind of on the fringes getting pushed out. And so I thought that was an interesting area to find a story in and tell that story. And then we ended up doing that through this tale of this family who owns a soccer field. They have these, hourly rental soccer fields all over the city.
Okay.
And and so the story takes place around one of these streets, also in a way the heart of the neighborhood and the center of the neighborhood. So when these big construction giants come in and try to push them out, that turns into resistance and bands together a group of unlikely players that that come together and do the one thing they know how to do, which is play soccer.
Excellent.
And so it really combines two things that I love, which is soccer and Turkey.
So I definitely want to talk about your experience with soccer, but your talk of the gentrification sort of that's going on in Turkey, I think that'll be of great interest, especially to our listeners from South Asian countries, because a similar thing is going on in those areas, right? It's just countries that are progressing kind of unevenly.
Exactly.
And there's a huge, sometimes even neighborhoods that are next to each other look so completely disconnected from each other in terms of the old and the new, and sometimes that can lead to lots of cultural issues as well.
But yeah, exactly. And that's partially what I wanted to tap into. And like you said, this is happening. Obviously, that's not just happening in Turkey. It's happening all over the world in countries, like Turkey, like you were saying, where there's this kind of insanely fast boom that it's literally a boom versus, maybe in Europe and other places, that thing where things might take more methodical or take more time. These countries, it's kind of out of control, which makes it exciting, but it's also a little scary at the same time. So I wanted to tap into that a little bit in the film.
Very, very well done, I have to say. And I loved how you used soccer to do that. And I loved that it was it was a family that was kind of in trouble, but you didn't necessarily, just like you said, it wasn't, you didn't make it heavy and kind of you didn't have it weigh down on our hearts as much. You felt for them and you wanted to root for them, but you knew that they would make it in the end. You felt the positivity in them, which is great.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience with soccer.
Yeah, so, soccer, of course, in Turkey as well as many places in the world, it's the sport, and when I was growing up there, it's funny, I was just telling my daughter, she's 4.5 now, I was just telling her, when I was a kid, we only had 1 or 2 TV stations, they were black and white, and, we didn't have iPads.
Right.
So the only thing we did was go out and play soccer, for hours and hours and hours.
Great.
And through that, that led to me eventually getting a soccer scholarship for college, and I actually had an opportunity to potentially play for the MLS, and it was one of these dramatic decisions where it was do I try that or do I move out to Los Angeles and try to get a film career going, which is what I chose.
Okay.
But soccer is always very, very close to my heart, and it's something I love, and so it was something I've always wanted to do is have a film with a lot of soccer in it, and be able to capture some of that excitement that I feel when I play. So.
That's very, and it shows in the way that you've been able to portray it. And I'm not particularly just very connected to sports myself. No hand-eye coordination, nothing like that. But but it's just so much fun to watch it when it's so well portrayed. You really feel the excitement. Very, very well done.
Thank you.
And the team, I wanted to talk about the team that you've portrayed in this movie. And, they're just a gang of people from all different walks of life, right, who kind of come together.
Yes.
Is that on purpose?
Yeah, it was. That was another thing is, again, this probably isn't just unique just to Turkey, but right now in Turkey, because of the climate and the political situation and just kind of, how society is also changing really fast there. And, there's been lots of political tension and division within the country that didn't really exist when I was growing up. And I felt like, Turkey and the people of Turkey, I think, really wanted, and for me at least, I think it was important to show a message that unifies everyone and that we can all be different, but we can all, if we're all working for the same cause, whatever that cause is, that we can come together and we don't have to split apart. So it was important for me to capture that. And, again, give kind of a subtle message of hope in there versus, hitting people over the head. But so the team, we have, the star player of the team is a girl, which in Turkey you don't see a lot of necessarily girl,
I was going to ask you
players.
that. Right.
It's her. And then we have a refugee who's actually played by a former professional soccer player who was a big star in Turkey.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then we have a Kurdish guy, we have a gypsy, and we have kind of like the middle class, down the middle, educated city urban Turkish kid, and so we really wanted to capture the whole slice of Turkey as it stands right now, and make sure everyone had a voice. We also had a more devout practicer of religion, and so. But, it was important that everybody had a voice at the table, and there's a couple scenes in there where literally they're sitting around a table and kind of their beliefs clash for a minute, and then they realize this is silly. We shouldn't be fighting. We should be working together.
Yeah, and that's just very well done. And I love the fact that the name of the team. It sort of goes along with, how food brings people together, right? And so I was like, a very nice subtle message in there. So I was going to ask you about the girl who was, by the way, very fantastically played by, I'm not sure, I don't remember the name of the actress. I'm so sorry, but she was lovely. She was wonderful. And is she, does she play soccer regularly?
She doesn't. She's actually the funny. Her name is Azad, and she's when we're looking for the casting, we looked at a lot of people that played soccer, but she still is, I guess. She's a ballerina, which is crazy because she's actually, she's so graceful, and even in the way she walks. And so it took us a lot of training and a lot of. I mean, she was very dedicated. The good thing is she had the discipline from doing ballet, but so there was a lot of training. She was committed every day, twice a day, going to practices with the whole team and learning the tricks, and even just as simple as learning to run a certain way. Because when we first did it, she was kind of bouncing like a deer or something. So graceful,
Right.
And we're like, well, soccer, you need to be a little more rougher around the edges, a little more street.
Right.
So that was a fun process to see her go from that to that. And she really dedicated herself and pulled it off. So
that's excellent. And how about so how did you think of, and just a side note, this is something running through my head yesterday while I was watching the movie. You said that it's not very common to see girls playing Turkish street soccer. So how did that come to you? Have you seen it a couple of times and you thought, hey, why not add one more variable to this?
Yeah, and also just it's again in one of those just the initial idea came from when I was doing research for the film. Of course, I was watching a lot of soccer videos and a lot of trick soccer, and one of the things that came up was, I think in Brazil there was this young girl, like 16, 17, and she was doing just the most amazing tricks, and it was awesome to see, and it just got me really excited. And so that was really the catalyst. And then of course, as we started developing this character, it just felt right, and I liked that she was kind of she would need a real kind of unexpected twist in Turkey. And then I actually thought we would have much more of a not a negative reaction, but much more of a reaction in Turkey. But it was actually very positive, and everyone was really behind that idea, and the idea that she could hold her own, and that she in a lot of ways, it to me is the real star in the team, the unexpected star.
Right.
So,
and you made it sort of incidental. Like, it's not a big deal that she's a girl. She's just a great soccer player. So I'm sure you've inspired a whole generation of little girls who are now going to go out and play soccer.
I hope so.
Yes, I'm sure you have. And how about, I've never been to Turkey myself, I'm sorry to say, but how I found that the portrayal of just life there, the people there, it seemed very realistic, not super glamorous, not down, let's plumb the depths of this. It was just kind of like your normal everyday existence. Is that right? Is that what you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's totally it. And again, I think going back to my documentary and non-scripted background, I think that's something I wanted to capture, and a lot of the movies that come out of Turkey, they'll either completely make life much more glamorous than it is there,
right,
and only show like the new things and the high-end things, the pretty part of town, or it's the other extreme. Well, they'll just show just like the utter poverty and just like the more down stuff, which of course we need to see all of that.
Of course.
But my personal taste, at least at the moment, is just let's just show life as it is. Like, it's just the story should just feel like we just caught the story that's happening right now somewhere in Istanbul, in one neighborhood of Istanbul. And so we shot the location we shot it really was a location, this whole part of town where this is happening. We shot in actual houses and neighborhoods and places where exactly like pretty much word for word what we mentioned in the movie, where these construction giants come in first. Their first wave is usually make offers to people, and a lot of people, because it is a more poor part of the town, will take those offers. But then if you're in the 20-30% that don't accept it, then they kind of start to make life hell for you. And they'll start intimidating, or like they'll burn the house next to you down and do stuff like that. So there's a lot of experience and a lot of things that we drew from the neighborhood. And now it's been over a year, and all those neighborhoods are gone now. Which is, and there's one frame in the one little sequence in the movie where after our team first comes together and they lose a game, there's a transition where they're tearing down this one house that looks like it's in the middle of nothing. And that house was actually a very symbolic house because that whole area around this house was pushed out of there, and they had destroyed all the houses and basically left this house up on about 30 feet of dirt. But the person would not leave, and so he resisted for about a year.
Oh my gosh!
And they made life impossible for him. Like, he literally would have to slide down the stairs to go to work. Yeah, it was insane. So we were there. He eventually sold it, but we were there for it being torn down. That was a very symbolic moment for Turkey. You know, that's a little tidbit there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even while watching that, I actually remarked to my husband when we were watching that it looked like my uncle's house back in India, and and the fact that it was so starkly like in the middle of nothing, just there was nothing surrounding it, just land. And I said, wow, that frame and that scene was just it really popped out. So that's pretty cool. Very well done. And you shot, I think your movie 40 was also done in Istanbul, right?
Yes,
okay.
That was. And that was a similar thing again. That story was had a little more, a touch of like, fantasy or just a touch of a little bit of the surreal, not much, but it was set in the very real world. And again, we shot that. The time we shot that was in a like heavily gypsy neighborhood, which had been there for about 600-700 years, and they were being pushed out.
Oh.
And so we went in there and captured that. And of course, again, since we've shot that, it's completely gone. Now there's luxury villas and things like that. So.
Okay. And how involved are you as a director? How involved are you in all the other aspects of this? Because the editing was so tight, and I even love the background score and everything. So just do you like to kind of oversee everything?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I edited the movie completely 100% by myself.
Great.
And chose the music, and I really do truly, really, really, really love filmmaking in every aspect of it.
Okay.
And so to me, I just get like just pure joy, editing for hours and hours and hours on end, or looking for the right music or looking for the right color. And I really am a nerd when it comes to that stuff. So
good for you.
So I'm very heavily involved in all aspects. I'm not one to walk away from anything. There's every decision I was involved in, good or bad. So.
Excellent. That's great. And so you've done, I know you've done a lot of TV before this. So is there a difference? Do you prefer one over the other?
They're satisfying in different ways to me. TV, I like the immediacy of TV and the power. It's just got such an undeniable reach, so there's something very exciting about that. And there's something exciting about usually the quicker turnarounds and the quicker deadlines that come with that.
Right.
And you also know that, when something's going on air, it's more likely than not, it's going to reach, even if it's not a huge hit necessarily, it'll still reach a lot of people, and a lot of people will see it, and it has the potential to shape kind of like the social discussions or ideas as it's happening, versus a film to me is a slower burn. Of course, when I was a kid, I always wanted to make films, so it always has a special part for me in my heart, and it's something that even like if I was given a choice, yes, I would probably choose films just because of my childhood. But I really do enjoy both, and so there's not like a clear winner necessarily.
Okay, no, that doesn't have to be a winner. I love seeing people who do kind of different faces of something similar, if that's the right description. And I always like to know what they see, what differences pop out to them. Because I mean, obviously, TV and movies it's such a silly question to ask. What's different about it, but there's always something that sticks out to everybody personally. So that's always something that's interesting to me. And so what's next? What are you working on currently?
Currently, actually, I'm working on in the film space. I have a couple things that I want to do. One thing is, it's been in the news a lot lately, but the huge refugee situation that's happening in Turkey and the refugee crisis, I guess we could say. There's 3 million refugees in southeast Turkey right now, and also the desperation. A lot of the stories and a lot of there's so much that it's becoming more and more in the news, but I feel like there's still more just more mouthpieces that need to tell some of the things that are happening, and especially in Turkey, which is ground zero for a lot of this. So I'm working on a story set in that world, a very real story, and I'm also at the same time working on a story that takes place here in the States, this one is much more lighter and fun with basically this kind of crazy Turkish character who's here and just trying to make ends meet and all the trouble he gets into.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Great.
So we're having a lot of fun with that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And so I always ask everyone this, but what's just a dream project, either film, TV, or just anything? What is it that you really? What's your reach project, kind of?
I mean, it's off the top of my head. There's probably two things that instantly come in terms of the film world. One thing I'd love to do is tell some story of the day or the period, probably the day when the Ottomans took over Istanbul from the Byzantines.
Okay.
And tell the story in a unique way. It's not about not necessarily. It's not about the battle as much as just how surreal it must have been. Where basically it was the end of this one civilization, the extent of the Romans, and really the end of the Roman domination of the world, and then this new empire, the Ottomans, coming in, and they're basically a completely different society, but how these two melded together, it's fascinating to me to see what life must have been like the day after. What does that look like? So that's one area, and then another thing that I'm getting pretty passionate about more and more lately is, again, with so much just negative news and bad news coming out of the East, the Middle East, the East, kind of, and I really want to find a way to underline and tell the more positive things, because it's very easy to just write off anything east of Europe as like, oh, it's just kind of a mess out there, and
right,
which is not necessarily the case, and it's not fair to do that across the board. So
not at all.
There's a lot of great art, there's a lot of great minds, there's a lot of great history and tradition and culture, and so I really want to find a way to really help find voices, whether it's a documentary or a painting or whatever it is, find voices and really try to help shape the East as the beautiful, awesome place that it is.
Yeah, show the other side of the coin, right? Without having to, without the Bollywoodization of it. It doesn't have to be very glamorous. It just has to be what it is, which is good.
Exactly.
You have to show that's a fantastic thought, and we're going to wait for that. I'm going to hold. I'm going to look for that from you in the future, and so you will be here in Dallas, right? This later on this week. Good.
Yep, we're coming. Me and the cinematographer and then the producer of the film are coming out there.
Wonderful. So I will certainly be there to meet you. And I know your film is airing on the 17th. Takim is airing on the 17th, and we are really looking forward to it. I really want to see it again.
Come on down.
Thank you so much, Emre, for taking the time to speak with me. I truly appreciate it, and this is very exciting to have your film here for the 10th Dallas International Film Festival.
Thank you very much.